All right.
All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to the Culture Podcast. And this week, I got my boy Q straight out of Chicago. So, Q, if you could, please just give everybody who may not know who you are a little background about yourself.
All right. First of all, I appreciate you. Let me just go ahead and get out the way. Thank you for having me on. And I'm excited to see where this conversation goes, man, because this is the important thing. Just talking about what we got going on, being upfront about it, and just spreading that knowledge. So I'm 31 years old. I go by the name of Q. My full name is Quinton Childs, and I'm from Chicago. So been here my whole life, born and raised. And I recently got into finance, put it like that, over the last 4 years. And ever since then, it's been a learning process every day. So now all I'm trying to do is help as many people become financially literate and make the best out of their situation, basically, because I didn't come from the best situation. Like, I come from the west side of Chicago, born at Cook County Hospital. If you do your research on Cook County Hospital, that's like the lowest of the low income, food stamps, all that, single parent household. And I just kind of made a way out of no way. Basically, my mom passed when I was 16, and I lived with my father. I lived with my dad all of my life. And what I learned from him is everything I'm doing now. Is just get it how you can and just make sure that you provide for those around you who you love. So that's pretty much my story.
Man. So, I guess, how did you even come about? Well, we can shift to your background a little bit. How did you even get into, the debt that you was in? Like, how much, like, how far in debt were you? I guess for everybody out there that's wondering, he might be on like $100 or $1,000 in debt. How much debt were you in?
I was in $33,000 worth of debt, and it was only 4 different debts, right? So one of the debts was student loans, which a lot of us have. I had 29K in student loans. I had a personal loan for $500. I had a bank charge off for $1,300, and then I had some medical debt that was a couple $100. So that all happened over the course of, I would say, 5 years prior. 5 year prior, because I went to school in 2008. I graduated in 2010 and racked up 16,000 right there. Notice I said I had 29, but I racked up 16. So what happened was I actually defaulted on my student loans. So that $16,000 turned into $29,000 because I didn't pay it. And that spiraled out of control, crazy. And then the $500 from a personal loan was just me borrowing money from a friend, and the bank charge off for $1,300 was just me being irresponsible. Honestly, I was banking with Washington Mutual. If you remember Washington Mutual, Chase bought them out back in '08, and I was just irresponsible. I would just get overdraft fees like crazy, multiple overdraft fees. And at a point, they just like, you know what, we can't trust this guy. Let's close his account. And that's how the bank charge-offs happen. But it's been a mission, man. It's been a mission.
Man, 30, golly, man. I get it though, man, because it's tough. Them student loans just start creeping up on you. And I mean, if you would think like I was, back then, I just was kind of like, I'll just figure it out whenever, I'll figure it out when I get to it. People don't be realizing that stuff come up and catch you and just blindside you.
Yeah, that's how it happened for me. Honestly, like, I knew about it. I knew about all my debt, of course, but I was younger. So when you're young, you're running around, you just want to have fun, right? You have your whatever agendas you want. Me personally, I just wanted to hang out with the guys, hoop, chase girls, just the whatever was fun and exciting. That's what I was worried about. When nobody worried about no debt, I was just worried about the next fun activity until I got a little bit older. And that's when I really started feeling it. It was like a situation, well, multiple situations, actually. It was two that really led into it. One was my wages getting garnished, because I always had a job, but it was a moment where my wages got garnished that was just like a light bulb, but I didn't pay too much attention. And the second moment was my girl, my significant other, pretty much telling me like, fam, you need to you need to get it together, honestly. You tripping. Like, you're clearly broke. Like, yeah, you got a job, but like, since your wages are being garnished, this all you got left over. So you got to figure something out. And those were the turning points for me to get it together finally.
All right, just like I guess you say you out of Chicago, and I do know a few people out there, man, and everybody I know from out there is from some part of that's a rough area, man, low income, and I guess that being said, at least I know in my household, financial literacy not really no thing. Like, it's not brought up. Your parents probably just like, at least mine. My mom would be like, "Don't mess with credit. Like, don't mess." It's no positive like thing about learning like getting financially literate. So was that a some type of like thing in your household where that was instilled in you, like, oh, you need to be financially smart? Did you have anybody in your corner, maybe?
That's a dope question, and I'm glad you asked that. Like the overall depiction of Chicago, you're right. You got the South Side, and then you got the West Side, who people mainly know about, and that's what the news show you, all the craziness. Like you just had King Von, a rapper from here, who just got killed not too long ago, a couple days ago, and it is rough. It is more rough areas than it is nice areas. But I'm from the West Side, and where I grew up, it was like I said, you had food stamps, you had gang activity, you had drugs, you had prostitution, you had all of this stuff. So this is all things that I lived through, and only thing I heard growing up was basically um, make the money, right? You got to make the money because you got to eat. So it was more of a survivor's mentality. It wasn't an abundance mindset at all. And every time I would ask for something when I was a kid, I would always hear, wait till I get paid, or I don't have the money for this right now, or we would put things on layaway. Like those are the only things we had.
Yeah,
So it was always like robbing Peter to pay Paul and scraping by. And it was just like a regular way of life for me. That's the only thing I heard. You got to make money to eat. And then if you ain't got it, borrow it from somebody or stuff like that. And that was the extent of it. Nobody ever told me anything other than that. Like we would go to the grocery stores, don't look at nothing, don't touch nothing. You go in here, you touch something, you break it, you buy it. I can't afford it, so keep your hands off it. And it's like, damn, like, okay. And it became a norm. So I didn't really think nothing of it. And that just got stuck with me over the years. So that's always how I thought.
man. So I know, yeah, a lot of people, yeah, when you talk about Chicago, I know you mentioned like gang culture, it's low income and stuff like that. Do you think if you was in a different situation, I guess things might have turned out different? I mean, do you think anything would have happened different? Like if you had grown up in a different area? I don't know how Chicago is to break down, but do you think it would have made a difference? Maybe.
Well, a little backstory. My situation is unique. Now I probably would still be in the same situation as back then, but I got older siblings. So I got older brothers, older sister. I got one little sister. And just based off the mistakes and the lives that my older siblings lived, like my sister was in a gang, my brothers was in gangs. You got my sister was a four corner hustler. She ran heavy with the four corner hustlers on the west side. I had brothers that was vice lords, and you see them just getting in so much trouble to the point where they look at me as the baby. We got to get him out of here. We got to get him out of here, or he gonna end up just like them. So what happened was we moved from the west side to like the west suburbs. So I went on the outskirts. It was a little bit nicer. Like it was still a little bit low income, but it was a little nicer. It was less gangs. It was less violence. And I honestly think that's what saved me, just getting away from that particular environment. And that's the big thing, because you become that product, right? You become that product of your environment. If that's all you know when you in it every day, it's hard to kind of walk the less road less travel. And that's the only thing I think that saved me, was just moving away.
Yeah, that's definitely big because I mean, like you said, you might have just been a product of your environment, man. And honestly, the way things looking now for us, man, it might have just been another statistic. And fortunate enough, you was able to get at least somewhere removed from that situation, so you could kind of at least walk on a better path and have like a somewhat easier road than what it could have been. So I like to think of it could always be worse situation because I mean, yeah, even though most of us come from something bad, you know, it could always be worse. You got people out there that you don't even know that's struggling way harder than you are. So, you know, be grateful for where you at. You know, it just
That's a
kind of
fact.
up and ground harder so you know you could just so you can be successful and eat, man. So that's just kind of where I'm at. But let's pivot on back, you know, back to the whole topic of debt. And can you just kind of say, I guess, who your influence was to start eliminating that? What inspired? Who like did you see out in the world that like was like, oh, this is something that I can do? Like, who was your mentor, I guess, per se?
Um, Honestly, I didn't have many examples. Like you have of course like the haves and the have-nots, the people who seem like they got their ducks in a row, and then the people who are just like you know, who just working every day, collecting a check every week, every 2 weeks, and just going about their normal life, paying their bills. So that's the situation I was in. And like I said, it wasn't until my girlfriend basically snapped on me for being a broke boy because we had moved in together. We moved in together and I came up short on the rent. Soon as we moved in together, I came up short on the rent 2 months in a row. And she was just like, all right, the first month she said, okay, don't worry about it. Just pay me when you get a chance. I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't know how to budget at the time. So I'm just still thinking like, okay, I moved in, I got my own place. I could still, you know, go out, hang with the guys. I could still go to the bar, go to clubs, do all the things that I was doing when I was living at my parents' house, not paying rent. So I kept up my regular lifestyle while I added a whole rent payment to my lifestyle. And that 2 months and not paying her, she just said, look, I'm not about to keep taking care of you. You said you was gonna pay me last month, and then you come up short again. So what you gonna do? You gonna get it together, or I'm dipping? And of course, I didn't want to leave. Well, I didn't want to lose hers, so I just something in me clicked. I picked up a second job, and then I just started doing research from there. So I Googled how to get out of debt. That's the first thing I did. I didn't ask nobody around me no questions. I just hopped on the internet, how to get out of debt. First person that popped up, of course, was Dave Ramsey. And I just dove into his teachings, like everything, every video he put out, I would watch. I bought his book, The Total Money Makeover. I read that front to back multiple times and just stay motivated. Made my first budget at 27 years old, and with the second job and with the new budget and with the new mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna finally get out of debt. That was the that was a driving factor. It's basically I started a new habit and just continue with it over the years.
Okay. So you said, man, you said you picked up a second job. So I guess, you know, people do come to me and ask like, oh, you know, I'm in debt. You know, I might have 60, 70 grand in debt. You know, that's a couple of student loans, credit cards, all this, that, everything, you know, just consumer debt and student loans, stuff like that. And they be like, can I even get started? You know, even trying to think about, oh, let me go create some wealth for myself. And a lot of times, to me, you know, I think anything is possible. It's just, do you want to change your lifestyle? So, and it's a testament to you because you say, you know, you had that reality check for your girl, and that really just resonated with you, and it got you out even to go pick up a second job. Which most people, you know, they say they want something to happen and something different to happen, but they keep doing the same thing, and it's just insanity. But you actually took that first step, and that's what I preach a lot to people that come to me. And I'm like, the biggest thing you can do is take some type of action that's different than what you already do. You do the same thing over and over again. We already know what that is. It's insanity. So it's just crazy, you know, when people, I like to tell people, like, you can do anything. It's just, are you willing to be uncomfortable for a little bit so you can be comfortable later on? You know, like you Total Money Makeover, for instance, live like no one else. So later you can live like no one else. And I've read that book a couple times too. Yeah, I do some of the stuff in there is gold, man. And like I guess that you get on the, I know they got the seven baby steps. Did you get on any of that, or did you just kind of use it for the budgeting, or how did you go about using the Dave Ramsey's whole methodology per se?
That's it. That's exactly what I did, bro. I that's what he's, you know, that's his thing. So that's his shtick. As soon as you look up Dave Ramsey, it's almost impossible to not hear about the seven baby steps. So once he put that out front and I read it and looked into it, I'm just like, man, this makes the most sense in the world, especially for my particular situation. And I just started following it. Like I didn't waste no time because I'm like, okay, I see how it works. I see how it could change things for me. I'm not finna wait. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just follow this man's advice because I did my research, of course. He seems legit. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. And let me just go ahead and do it. And all I did was take that first step. Like you said, I forced myself to get uncomfortable. I took the very first step by making a budget, which was something I never done. I took the second step by saving up $1,000. I never saved up $1,000 as fast as I did for that first baby step. And when I did that, that just gives you more momentum because you like, okay, I'm following these steps, it's working. After that, then you go into paying off your debt on baby step 2. So I did that, and step by step by step, paying off little by little as much as you can. You just see the effects of the action you're taking. And ultimately, that's what propels you forward because you see yourself making progress. And that's just the motivation right there, the momentum. And you just keep doing it every single day. And like I said, you build up that habit and that muscle. And just the repetition is everything that could take you to places you probably never even thought you'd be able to make it to.
Yeah, I like how you said that, you built that muscle because a lot, you can attribute it almost to like going to the gym. Like, you constantly going to the gym, working out, like something don't click until that second you get on that scale, so you done drop like 5, 10 pounds. You start looking in the mirror, you're a little bit swollen. So then that kind of give you that motivation because everybody needs, like, that's one thing I say. You need some type of why when you even get on this journey that's gonna keep you focused and on that path because people people don't really realize, man, when you start talking about paying stuff down, man, it's easier just to throw it to the side and just be like, I'll just get to it when I get to it. And then you look up and it's kind of like what you said with your student loans. It's just like, dang, it hits you in the face and you look up, it's like, dang, 33 grand. And now you're sitting there like, I got to figure out how to get this paid now. So I do know you say you got 2 jobs. Like, if you don't mind me asking, just for the sake of anybody listening, because everybody ain't paid. Like, we ain't out here. We trying to get to that status. So I mean, like, what was you bringing in? Because compared to that 33 grand, I'm thinking like, dang, I need to be making like at least 6 figures to even think about taking this out, man. Like, what was you bringing in? You don't mind just like letting everybody know.
I wasn't bringing in much of nothing, to be honest with you. And like you said, it's that comfortability. I was in that comfort zone, and I was making $25,000, right? $25,000 annually. I was working at a car dealership, and it was comfortable there. Like I knew everybody. I was there for a few years, so I was making 25K, and that was with tips. So I was working at a car wash, and we get tips for car washes and stuff like that on top of our annual salary. And what happened was I mentioned my wages getting garnished. So after my wages was getting garnished, they was taking about 15% out of every paycheck. And that basically dropped my income to about, what was it, $18,000. So back in 2008, 2009, I was making 18 grand. And I was making that for years, honestly, a couple years, because like I said, I didn't have that many responsibilities. I was younger. I was 22. I was living in my parents' house. I didn't have to pay no rent, nothing like that. So that was a livable wage for me. As long as I had food, as long as I had gas in the car, everything after that, I could just do whatever I wanted with. And over the years, like I said, fast forward to 2016 was when I started my debt-free journey. That's when things made a shift because I was living on that 18 grand all that time. 2016, I picked up the second job and added another 12 grand to my income. And that 18 turned into 30. And every year after that, because like I said, it's a momentum thing. The more progress you make on paying off that debt, you see you only have this much margin, right? So you're like, okay, after every month, I got an extra $250. So if I want to pay this debt off faster, I know what I got to do. My bills are already set. I got to make some more cash now. So I started doing overtime, and then I started looking around for more jobs. So even after picking up that second job, I was still looking for more employment. Honestly, I was looking for jobs that would pay a little bit more than that second job I got. So I was basically hopping around. Honestly, I quit 4 jobs in 2019, which was crazy. And from 2016 to now, my income increased from 18 grand to I'm currently making $65,000. And that's all with just applying at different places and doing market research and seeing who pays what entry level is this on what education level, because I have a associate's degree only. So you can't really do nothing with an associate's degree like that anyway. And it was just about landing the right job, man, and increasing that income.
So what do you do now? Like, what are you into now?
Right now I'm working at the railroad. So I work for a company named BNSF. And what's crazy is that Warren Buffett actually owns that company. So
Oh, that's dope.
Berkshire Hathaway owns BNSF, which is the company that I work for. And I'm a carman slash maintenance on the train. So I work with the electricity and the upkeep of the actual trains, which it's a pretty good job. It's unionized. They start out at 60 grand and it goes up every year. You can move around and they have like all the benefits you can think of.
Oh, that's dope, man. That's dope because I know what you mean. But if he ain't making no money, man, you start looking. It's like, man. But I guess
Yeah,
that could go into how did you go about a lot of people are so afraid to sit down and actually just put out a budget in front of themselves and find a way to stick to it. How did you go about putting together your budget? With not making too much money, probably like I know if anything like most of us out here, you're probably thinking, man, I'll give it a try, but I don't know. So let me just see. But how did you go about putting your budget together?
bro, classic pen and paper. Classic pen and paper. Dave would always say on paper on purpose. He would say, get you out a piece of paper and just write it down. That's the best way to go about it. Go head first. Look at everything you have from top to bottom, line item by line item. So you got your rent, you got your gas, you got your insurance, you got your phone bill. List all your bills out and then list all your debts out. And whatever your income is, it's just put whatever income just divided by the line items, and whatever you have left over after paying your bills, then that's how much you got to put towards debt or how much you got to save or how much you got to do whatever you want with. But make sure those bills are covered, and after those bills are covered, that's pretty much the blueprint right there. And then like, okay, this is what I got to work with. What am I going to do with it? Do I really want to pay this debt off, or and then you just put it towards that. But you just gotta do it, man. Just gotta do something different than what you've been doing. And it's gonna be uncomfortable until it's not uncomfortable, because it becomes a way of life at a certain point in time.
Now, can you speak on? I guess once you get started on this journey, you start realizing like, man, this gonna be like a lonely road, and it's just gonna be all me. And a lot of people kind of have trouble with that. And when you say you started a budget, were you still going out, and were you putting any money to the side just for play, or was you just like, nah, all this gotta go? Because a lot of people don't realize a lot of times when you start doing stuff, you got to start setting other things to the side. And that sometimes includes like losing out on like friendships for a little bit. And was that an issue with you per se when you got started on your journey?
It wasn't an issue starting out, because once you first start out, you excited, you on 10, you like, all right, I'm finna do this. And once you get the ball rolling, you on fire, and you just got the momentum and motivation. But then after a while, that's when it finally starts to hit you, because you just start with what you have where you are. That's how I did. You start right here with the first step. You're not really looking too far down the road. Okay. You might think like you'll pay it off eventually, but you don't really lay out the blueprint like, oh, it's gonna take 4 years or it's gonna take 5 years. You just take that first step, keep your head down, and when you get to that finish line, you get to the finish line. However that timeline looks, it just is what it is. But for me, it was like this. It was like a roller coaster. I started off up here, and when I distance myself, like you said, it's a lonely road. It's definitely a lonely road, especially when nobody around you thinks like this. The majority of people, they just live with debt, or they think that debt is just something you have for, it's just the standard. It is what it is. They don't really care too much. But it was about building that community, man. That was the thing. Once I realized like, okay, I'm losing momentum, I'm losing motivation. How do I keep going when nobody else around me is on this? So that's when I started my YouTube channel. That's when I started being more vocal about finance on IG. And from there, of course, your vibe attracts your tribe. You talk about these things and then people start gravitating towards you and y'all have that conversation. Now you're like, all right, I'm not alone no more because I got all my online friends or I got my community on Facebook or YouTube. And that makes it a little more easier too because it's not as lonely like you said, because it could definitely be some lonely stuff. I mean, nobody really on this financial literacy wave, but that's why we doing this interview right now because we trying to change that. We trying to change that.
And just real quick, like just for like a real quick tip on just the people around you, like you were mentioning. Can you just kind of explain to people, because I'm sure you had to go through this, just the power of being able to say no, because that's something a lot of people don't realize. You got to learn real quick just how to say no. And yeah, people might talk down on you and stuff for the time being, but at the end of the day, it's helping you fast track your journey. So maybe I just want to know you had that chance to like really dial in and just being able to start saying no to people, because I know that's a big thing for people.
Yeah, that was tough. That was probably one of the toughest things. And it took years before people finally start realizing, like, all right, he's on his own thing. Let's give him space. Let's leave him alone. But all the guys, man, like I said, I used to go out a lot. I used to bar hop. I used to go from club to club. We used to be just out doing stuff. And once I made my switch, I seen that's where most of my money was going to, was going out to eat, going to clubs, going to bars, alcohol, and just whatever extra stuff I spent money on. But that was something where when I pulled away from that, it was doing a complete 180. And I was getting invites left and right. People was hitting me up like, man, you trying to go to this spot or you trying to go over here and do this? And I'm just like, first I would ignore it. I wouldn't even respond. But then once I picked up that second job, my excuse was I'm at work, so I can't make it. Maybe next time. Or every time they would start hitting me up, I'm at work. Even if I wasn't at work, it's like I'm at work. And then after that, it got easier to the point where I'm like, when I needed a break, I know for a fact these are my friends. If they were my real friends, they understand. But if I needed a break, I know I could just reach out to them because honestly, in no shade to them, they're doing the same exact thing. So I know what to do if I'm ready to go party and bar hopping club and, let my hair down from being so uptight on this budget and that payoff thing. I can just hit them up and they're going to be receptive to it versus them reaching out to me. Like I said, the phone calls and invites got less and less and less because they seen what I was doing.
That's what's up. I mean, that's good because I like what you also did. You found a way to say no, but not like a direct, like in a rude way. You found like something that could be like a buffer, like, oh, I got this going on right now, and then it just makes it a lot easier for somebody to understand that, and then they just start seeing you taking action, from a distance, and it's like I'm sure they was rooting you on, even though they didn't, directly tell you, but I'm sure they was rooting for you and in your corner. So
Yeah, it took, like I said, it took a few years before they started cheering me on. At first, they was just skeptical. They was looking at me, and then when I did link up with them, I started hearing stuff like, "Man, you don't mess with us no more," or "You think you're better than us," or "You're." They figured since I got with my girl that I had changed also, and I'm like, I did, I
yeah,
did, I did change, like for the better though, and it's nothing to do with you, but that's what happened. And they was just like, man, they didn't know what was going on, and it shouldn't be taken personally. It's just them. This what you was used to. Like they was used to having me around and used to running with me, and out of nowhere, I just switched to doing this. So it's like, all right, what's going on? That'll make anybody curious. So I never took it personal.
now a lot of people, if y'all don't know, Q does have his own YouTube channel, and I'm a big advocate. I watched quite a few videos, and I gotta say, you definitely don't mind getting creative on, trying to get some type of money put together. I see you got I even see it in the video, you got the change jar back there.
Oh yeah, that's
You
always
ain't,
with me.
yeah, I see you went out there and collect cans and all type of stuff. Like it just didn't matter to you. I even see you got like a little hustle going, like you got like a little business, or like a charity box business going on or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I was doing the honor boxes for my mom. My mom passed away when I was 16. She had breast cancer, and that was something that popped in my head, like you said, I watch a lot of YouTube, man. That's all I watch, honestly. I watch a little TV rarely, but YouTube is where I'm at all the time because you can just watch a video, learn something. If you're trying to figure something out, you one YouTube video away from figuring something out. And me, I'm always searching how to make extra money, what businesses to start with this amount of money. And the honor boxes was just something that made sense for my situation. It was something that was smooth. It was something that was easy. It was something that was a low barrier to entry. And I did that for about 6 months until that particular situation. It's a whole thing I don't even want to go down. But basically, it was like the company was on some fraud stuff, and it was getting investigated. And after that, I didn't want no parts to do with that. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me send these boxes back to them. I made a decent amount of money, but overall, it just wasn't worth the headache because it was like a lot of driving around dealing with that.
Well, RIP to your mother, man. I lost my father while I was in college, so trust me, I get it, man.
My
But
condolences. It's tough. It's been half my life ago, but it's still like, all right, you just got to continue to make her happy because you know she looking down, so you gotta make her proud. And same with you and your dad, man. I still have my father, but like you said, it still ain't something that's that easy to deal with.
oh yeah, for sure.
Just take it day by day.
Go ahead, get off this side tip real quick, man. But can you just talk about kind of like the little things you were doing so far as like your can club, like how you even like you were just thinking of the random ideas, like what got you into doing the whole change thing? Because I know I passed by like when I see your video, all I kept thinking was how I just the way my mom worked with change, I don't even want to deal with it. And it's like, man, when I started thinking, because it's crazy, because back when I was in like high school and I was broke, I always loved change. And then I get older, I'm just like, I just throw it to the side. But now when I start seeing you with like so many hundreds of dollars after a year, I'm like, man, I think back I could have been racking off. So how did you even get into like, oh, let me just start going grabbing some cans when I say, let me grab some change off the ground when I see it. Like what even like triggered that
So
for you?
that's something else that started when I was a kid. Honestly, like I would always, I don't know if you remember like the what was it called, the M&M minis. They would
Oh yeah.
come in like this tube, and the tube was just round enough to put a quarter in there. So I would put quarters as a kid in the M&M's mini tube. And also my parents, my dad and my grandparents, that's something they would always do when I would be with them at the grocery store or whenever we would be out, whatever they'd be doing, they would just stop. They would stop and pick up a penny or whatever piece of change that they saw on the ground, pick it up and be like, oh, I'm 10 cents richer or I'm 5 cents richer. And I'm looking like, all right, whatever. It's just a penny. But over the years, I noticed they would always do that continuously. And then I would go in their room and they got like Hinkley spring jugs full of change. And I'm like, damn, I'll be in there trying to get some of the change out as a shorty to go to the candy store. And I'm like, man, so it really do work if you work it. And that's what started when I was so eager and anxious to find extra money. I started paying attention to that. And I'm like, damn, I walk past change every day. Even if I'm not actively hunting for with a metal detector, it's change on the ground everywhere we go. We just got to keep our eyes peeled for it. And you'd be surprised how much you can save. So that was one thing I did everywhere I went. In passing, I just look down, take a glimpse over. If I see something, I pick it up, I bring it home, and it adds up so quick. It adds up so quick. Just a little 1 cent a day, 2 cent, 20 cent, however, it's just that compounding effect. You notice how it works over years. So that's just another habit I built, another healthy habit, and I've been doing that for like the last 4 years consistently.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So I know you just mentioned because I'll be looking at you. I'm telling you, when I be on your YouTube, I'll be on your YouTube, man. So okay, you like I gotta say, I do appreciate like you gotta be probably top five one of the most transparent people I've ever seen.
Thank
And
you.
one thing that really got me was I know you talk about the cash car, but I also know that you mentioned how you moved out of your place, to go stay with your in-laws.
Yeah, I'm with my girls folks right now. We just had a kid last November. My daughter's going to be 1, actually November 10th.
Okay,
And
congrats.
we were, I mean, we shouldn't have been living in Lincoln Park. I'm gonna be honest. We shouldn't have been living in Lincoln Park because our rent was 1775 for a 1 bedroom. And though the location was nice, you're in walking distance of everything as far as dining and grocery and transportation because you had the train and the bus right there. But 1775, it was just too much for us. And I had been trying to convince my girl to move out a while ago. But of course, when you have a kid, when you have a
Yeah.
kid, for one, you need help with that baby. You need help with childcare, and for two, that baby is expensive. So you like, all right, we just gained a whole list of bills with having a kid. We definitely moving out now. So it was easier to convince her. But we living in the basement right now, and her mom, she has a nice sized lot. She's on a 2 acre lot, and she was gracious enough to give us the basement. So the basement needed a little work, and we're in the middle of renovating the entire basement. So she's only letting us pay 800 a month for rent. So we went from 1775 to 800 a month, and that was huge for us. That was huge for us. So that just helps us save a little more money, and it gives us a little more space in the meantime because this is only temporary. So we're also saving for a house and saving for other investment opportunities.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Now, we don't talked about debt, budget, and all that. But now that you free of debt, man, congrats to that for one. Round of applause, my man.
Thank you.
What's next? What's next for you, bro? Like, what you doing? Like, what's next?
Oh man, the goal right now is just to keep running it up. I just had this conversation. I was back and forth in a DM. I'm sure you know who the Budgetnista is.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Tiffany Alashay, and one thing that resonated with me is her saying that uh, debt freedom isn't the end all be all, because at one point that's what a lot of us are chasing. If that's our main focus, we want to get out of debt, and we feel like once we cross that finish line, that's it. But at the end of the day, that's not really it. It just depends on your goals. But for me, it was something I'm proud of. It's something that I celebrated once I reached there because it took me 4 years from start to finish. But ultimately, I'm free of debt, and now I just want to be free, like overall financially, man. I want to build up a nest egg. I want to make as much money as possible while showing people every step of the way how I do it. But it's just having enough money where I wouldn't have to depend on a job, basically.
Okay, I
So
got you.
that whole financial independence thing, that's what I'm working on.
That's what's up, man. We all on this journey together. I promise you, bro. I'm in your corner, man. I'm rooting for all of us, man. So I'll go and bring this to a conclusion, kind of, go ahead and start getting ready to wrap this up because I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. I know we all got our day jobs and stuff we trying to do. So I'm just running through this little lightning round thing I got going with my guests now. So I'm gonna just run through a few questions. You could just hit on them real quick, and we can go and wrap this up. So do you have what's a standout? This is about the black community and stuff like that, and a lot of people. That's why my main focus is bringing other black people on here that's doing stuff that's actually taking action, because that's to me is real important, because we don't see you see all these other people out here, they going out and doing it, but it don't really resonate with you until you see somebody that look like you doing it and they actually accomplish it. So I guess I go use that to say, who's a standout on your timeline? Like, who's somebody that's a standout on your timeline right now when you scrolling through IG and stuff?
Man, so right now, it's a couple people. Can I name more than one
Oh,
person?
you can name however many you want.
Okay, so I just mentioned him in my last video, but Wall Street Trapper. Wall Street Trapper, that dude he's out of here. Like, from where he came from to where he is now, I applaud that brother. And another one is Rashana Scott. So Rashana Scott, she's from my hometown. She's a realtor. She's a real estate investor. And when I say she's killing it, bro, she's like really, really killing it from my own hometown. She's
What's
from the
our
South
IG
Side.
handle? That name sounds familiar. What's our Instagram?
It should just be at Rashana Scott. But
I think.
She started early too. Like she was been financial literate since she was 19, which was a huge starting point because most of us start later, clearly. But from 19 and now, I'm pretty sure she's millionaire status already, and she does the same thing that we're trying to do. She educates people while still making her own bag and bringing that community together. So she's really dope. Like I follow her close. I follow her real close because that's what I'm trying to get into, man. Real estate and just being financially independent and helping other people.
That's what's up, man. So this one kind of, I noticed it. I don't know. I'll let you answer how you want to answer. But what failure taught you the most? Because a lot of times people always talk about the successes, and I come across a lot of people. They see the people that's out there doing well and be like, oh, it was easy. It's easy for them, but they don't realize everything that you went through to get to that point. So, what failure would you say that you had to go through taught you the most?
Man, you trying to stump me. That's a good question. Man, what failure? What failure? Well, one failure was ignoring my problems. Like I said, I knew I was in debt. I knew I was in trouble, but I wasn't focused on it. Like I would get emails, I would get letters in the mails, I would get phone calls, and I would ignore them. People trying to get their money back, all them debt collectors hitting me up, and I would ignore them. And ultimately, me ignoring them and me not taking action and being proactive onto taking care of those situations, it came back to bite me by getting my wages garnished. So I got my wages garnished, and I learned from that process right there. They're gonna automatically take 15% of my paycheck. Okay, cool. I can still live on what's left. They're gonna take your whole entire income tax check. So
Ooh.
2 years in a row, 2 years in a row, the IRS took my tax return, and I just kept living life. And if I would have just been on top of my stuff, man, I could have avoided that. If I would have just sent some phone calls back or replied to some emails, I could have avoided my wages getting garnished. I could have avoided all these things. I could have avoided defaulting on my student loans and that 16 grand that I graduated with turning into 29 grand. So that was probably my biggest mistake, just ignoring and trying to run from my problem, because you can't outrun it ultimately, especially student loan debts. That's the only debt in the world that like you can't file bankruptcy on. Like if you
Yeah.
die with your student loan debts, then your heirs have to live with that. So that I learned a lot from that situation right there.
Oh, you said they took two of your income tax? God.
Bro, too, and me being so hard-headed, you would have think after the first one, most people be like, all right, let me go ahead and give them their money back. I had to get 2 tax returns taken, and I was still trying to I still didn't do nothing different until my girl barked on me, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll get it together now. But that was the biggest mistake, without a doubt.
Man, bro, I would have been sick.
I was sick as hell. I was sick. I was sick because I was counting those eggs actually, and that you shouldn't count them before they hatch. But that's how I got the personal debt. Was I went to Mardi Gras actually, and it was towards February. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get my tax return. I don't have no money right now, but I don't want to miss this trip. So I reach out to my best friend. I'm like, let me borrow 500 just for this trip. And as soon as I get my tax return back, I'll pay you that 500 back. Whole time I didn't know they was gonna take it. So it took me a while to pay my friend back, and that put a little damper on our relationship. But I paid him back in full, so it's no biggie.
I mean, that's a testament still, though. You paying it back because best believe, man, I done gave some people some money, and I my grandma said way back when, and I'm kind of like it resonate with you when it actually happened to you. She like, don't lend out nothing that you can't afford to give away or lose, and I'm just like, man, because I don't loan money to people, and I'm just like, it don't even be nothing, man. It be like $50, man, and you don't even, they just avoid you. You don't see it no more. And it's just like dang, over $50. You want to just like a whole friendship go to waste, bro? Like, dang. But
That's true. That's true. It took me 2 years to pay him back, and I gave him 5 blue faces. Like, here, I appreciate you, and he wasn't worried about it, but at the same time, I'm in that situation now with a friend. I haven't seen or heard from him over 2 years now, over $80. Like you said, it could be the smallest amount, but it's about, standing on your word. And if you can't afford to lose it, then definitely don't lend it out.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So going to get to this next question. Like in the black community, what is it? What is one thing you think the black community they need to improve on?
They need to improve on speaking up and being vulnerable. That's the thing. When you say you need help, just say that. Or if you need help, just say that. Because that's the thing. We're super prideful, right? We'll how do I say this? We'll speak up about money, but not in a healthy manner on a general scale. From what I'm seeing, is everybody will want to tell you, oh, I got it, but they don't want to really tell you if they really have it or not. That's the thing. It's more of the flash to cash versus um, really knowing what to do with it and really knowing how to keep it. So it's like these conversations like we're having right now, I think people run from that, even though these are the healthiest conversations to have when you talk about money versus talking about what you got or what the next person don't have, because everybody has different situations, but it's just about, being financially literate, like learning from your mistakes and being vulnerable enough to talk about it and be real about it.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's definitely something that we do need to, because everybody's so worried about what the next man gonna think instead of just kind of putting it out there, trying to help each other. So I definitely can see what you mean by that.
Yeah,
No,
that
for
that
my
and that and credit, like you said, a lot of people in general want to do a lot of things on credit, but we got to get out of that mentality too of seeing how much of a payment we can afford versus us if we can actually afford it, like on the grand scheme of things.
yeah.
That's pretty much the biggest issue I see.
Now my last question, my brother. What is one piece of advice? It could be about anything, about the topic we spoke on with debt and budgeting today. It could be on life, anything in general. Like, what is one piece of advice that you would just give somebody? Just off the strength of just here's a piece of advice that could help you out in the long
Um, Honestly, be observant and ask questions. Ask questions, and like I said, don't be ashamed to reach out to people, because just like you reached out to me, and I commend you for it. This man reached out to me on IG. I forget if it was a DM or a comment, but he reached out to me and asked for this meeting right here, this interview, and we set it up within less than 2 weeks.
run. Yeah.
Less than 2 weeks. So if a closed mouth don't get fed, basically. So I feel like the best advice I can give is just to speak up and take initiative with reaching out to people, right? If you feel like you can get to something faster, or if you can learn something faster, just ask questions, man. Ask questions and see what comes from it, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that's the biggest fact for me.
Oh, big
So
facts,
if I
man. Big
can't if
facts,
I
bro.
can't learn something, I'm asking nonstop. If I don't feel like Googling, if I feel like, okay, I know this person got the knowledge, I see him displaying that he got the knowledge, let me reach out to him.
And it's crazy because people don't even realize, heck, any question you think of in your brain, you go Google or YouTube, and I promise it's somebody out, because I'm a fan. Like I like to say, I'm like a student of Google and YouTube University, man. Like I got my degree from there. Like I
Hmm.
promise, you can learn anything off of there. You can find somebody that knows it. So it, I do understand though, people do think like, oh, this might be stupid to ask, but that's one thing I do think people need to get out of. Ain't no such thing as a stupid question. Like,
Nope.
yeah, at the time it's just you just ignorant to it because you just don't know. And I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So I definitely understand what you're saying. So
Big facts,
yeah,
and that's why I'm so transparent. I'll tell somebody if I don't know something, and at the end of the day, that opens up the gate for other people to become comfortable with saying that they don't know something, because nobody knows everything. Not one person walking this earth know everything, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you don't ask questions, you'll never really know. So ask questions.
Well, my brother, I definitely want to give you a big shout out, a big thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on. Just, letting us dive into your life a little bit, man. And you giving everybody this wisdom, man. Because, like I say, this got to be probably one of the topics I get asked the most about is like getting rid of debt and, just even taking action on that. And a lot of people, myself included, like we all been down that road where you just think you can just keep writing it off, and it's going to just magically just take care of itself. And life hits you and you realize that ain't the case. So I just want to thank you, man, for coming on, just giving your piece, man. And I do know I seen that music video, bro. And I do this every week. I do I got the artist of the week. You gonna be the artist of the week next week. Just let you know. So be ready,
Hey,
bro. I'm gonna have it at the end.
I do a little something, I do a little something. I got a bunch of things lined up as far as that lane goes because I do see something there. But that was just something fun for me. Like I said, I've been doing that for a while, but I felt like this will be something creative. It'll be something fresh, and it'll be something that's right in the vein of finance, which is easily like it's easier to digest in that form. So I
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah, for
enjoy
sure.
making that. And again, I appreciate you for having me on, man. I look forward to seeing where you take this podcast. I'll be tuned in. I'll be following you super duper close because I can see something really good coming from this. And again, I appreciate you just reaching out, man, and not being hesitant about it. And just we got something good here. I think I'm pretty sure we had a this is a good conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And can you just go ahead and do me a favor? Because I promise there's gonna be some people want to like reach out or just kind of like peep you and follow your journey. So can you go ahead and just plug in your all your social media, anywhere people can kind of get a hold of you or see what you're doing in your journey?
Um, okay, I'm on IG and YouTube at Q Makes It Happen. I'm heavy on YouTube versus IG. I'm on both, but IG and YouTube are the places you can find me the most. And Q Makes It Happen on IG, on YouTube. I got hundreds of videos pertaining to personal finance and just documenting my journey as a whole on YouTube, literally hundreds of videos. And I'm posting on IG every day. So everything I learn, everything I'm doing, I do the same thing, just document my journey and share knowledge that you may or may not know. So Q Makes It Happen, IG, YouTube.
All right, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming through, man. I appreciate you for giving everybody your time because you didn't have to do that, bro. So I want to say thank you and trust me, you need anything from me, bro. I got you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.